entered more sophisticated orders into the computer, and as I recall, she smoked, and that was when you could do that at your desk, you know. She would enter these orders, smoke, and get 1,200 in a day. And I could get 800 in, and I'll just tell you right now, I didn't smoke, okay? But I would go in every day and tell her how many I was going to put in. I'm going to put 850 orders in today. And I made a game out of it, because it was just this repetitive kind of thing. I could sit there and feel sorry for myself. I'm a graduate, and this is what I'm doing. But it was a temp job, and I just made a game out of it. And I enjoyed it. I really did. I had a lot of fun trying to keep up with her and do the best job that I could for them. And, you know, I kind of did this. I used to wait tables. I did the same thing there. I mean, just anything to find some joy in what you do, to get something more out of it, just to make today more interesting than yesterday. We can make work fun. Work does not have to be this drudgery that we loathe, and then at the end you get the big reward. You know, we need to learn to get a lot of satisfaction out of the work that we do, whether it's the end product or the means to the end in how we do that. Is there anything else we can do to help kids learn how to work?
Give them responsibility.
How about some chores? Yeah, you know, we certainly have them, and I think it's good. Age-appropriate chores. Things that don't take so much time.
I feel like I have learned from my daughters on things as I have watched them include their children in while they're cooking and everything. I mean, I thought, what a pain in the neck to have your kids sitting on the island while you're trying to dip their hands in all the time. And yet I have thought they're learning something so great, and they're excited about it. And you know, I've got, when they're here, I've got grandkids right up there. Right. Whatever you're doing, they're right in it. Right. And what if we did this, Grandma? We could change the recipe. Right. You know?
And you say, how fun what if you went in the backyard?
You know, and I, you know, I didn't always include them in things where I didn't want all that mess. Right. And I think that, you know,
I think a lot of
my one daughter has, more than others, has included them, and I thought, good job. Yeah. Good job.
It's easy to send them away. You want to do it right, faster, quicker, more efficient, and just go away and I'll take care of this. And really, they come out with nothing. Yeah, except the notion that they're sort of a pain. What I'd like to do, I taught Cub Scouts for a while too, and I learned that the attention span of a Cub Scout is pretty short. And I think that principle is true. I literally got to the point where I said in my head, I have to have a different activity every 7 minutes. Because they're 8 years old, and they have an attention span of 9 minutes. And so, if I cut them off at 7, and they still wanted to keep doing it, but I'd say, no, we gotta move on to the next thing. And then they would just be excited to do that. Versus going another minute or two when they're like, poking each other in the eye because they've lost interest in the activity at hand. And I think there's a true principle there as it relates to just teaching kids, giving them something age appropriate that fits within their attention span. My mother used to send my sister and I into our room and say, clean that room on Saturday, and she would come back hours later and say, what are you two doing? I mean, this room is not as quite big as a stage, right? And, well, we got so caught up doing whatever. And I think, too, we didn't know where to begin. We didn't know what to do. She didn't say, let's start with the top of the dresser or making your bed. You know, something small and manageable was just get in there and clean your room. And we just didn't really know how to handle that very well. So it became this all-day event, which, you know, you might be familiar with. But it seems to me, when we sort of break them down, make it kind of fun, have a reward at the end, that, you know, work doesn't seem so much like drudgery, I would hope. The last thing I want to get to, which I think is really important, is I really think that this group of women that I stand in front of doesn't have a problem with the concept of work. I think we have the problem with the concept of not working, of resting. The word the lesson uses is recreation. Now, when I hear the word recreation, I'm thinking beach. And that may or may not be the case. I mean, we're fortunate to live by the beach, so we could do that, but I actually looked it up in the dictionary, and recreation is a refreshment of strength or spirit. So we're refreshing, revitalizing ourselves through whatever means works for you. I have some hobbies that for the years that we were doing this thing, you know, on Whidbey Island, went by the wayside. And I found that I began to crave those like you do vitamin B or whatever vitamins you crave. I would find myself just going, I have to do something creative. I make cards and I scrapbook and do stuff like that. And I found myself just longing to spend a couple of hours doing something creative. And I got so few opportunities for that when we moved here, I said I have to have this out on the kitchen table all the time, dear. Because I have to do that. It's a need. I really found myself craving this need. And the lesson refers to work, recreation, and rest. And I literally had to look those up to differentiate between recreation and rest. I know what it means to collapse into bed at night, okay? So I think that's the rest part. I know what that is like. It's the recreation that I have a hard time with. And I'm pretty sure I don't have the only husband in town who has said, are you ever going to sit down? I have a feeling that a lot of you have heard that same thing. Are you ever going to sit down? And I go, yeah, sure, I'm going to sit down, but I'm going to crochet. I'm going to make a leper bandage while we watch this program. I'm going to do whatever. Because I can't just sit there, and watch TV. I mean, I like to do that, and it's a refreshment for me, but it's really hard to do that. And I think that's what this group of women probably struggles with more than learning to work and not be idle, is to learn when enough is enough. Now, I told you at the beginning that I have a testimony, and I do. Clearly, I have a testimony of hard work and the value of hard work. But I'm learning and gaining a testimony of learning to get a balance back in my life. The necessity of it, how I go about doing that. I told you that I spend 24 hours a day with my husband, and I still do. We go to work in separate cars now on some days, and so I get that little break. I know. But yeah, I mean, it's not quite as intense as before, but pretty close. And I asked him this last Christmas, what do you want for Christmas, dear? And he said, I want to spend more time with my wife. And I said, get out of here. And you already spend 24 hours a day with your wife. He said, that's not the kind of time I want to spend with my wife. And I said, okay, fair enough. So I made him a coupon book of things that we're going to do. Because I made a New Year's resolution too. I'm only going to work one Saturday a month. And I want you to know I've kept that promise. Yeah, January and February I've only worked one Saturday a month. And so I have like these Saturdays, which are like, wow, what do people do with this time? And so I made this coupon book. And we're going to go to Universal Studios and the Huntington Library. We're going to do all kinds of things. Because that's the kind of time he wants to spend with his wife. And I want to do that with him. And so, but the secret to our success is scheduling it. He said, if we're going to live in California, then we're going to live in California. So we went down and bought Disneyland passes. And so we went to Disneyland on Friday in the rain. And, but we did it. And because we scheduled it, we put it on the calendar and we said, okay, we're going to do that. And we'll see how long we last. And, and it was very cool because we saw Billy Hill and the Hillbillies at the Golden Horse Review. Anyway, but those are things that we haven't done in years. And so that's the kind of time that we're spending together now, instead of just long commutes and that kind of thing. Tell me, ladies, what else can we do to get a better balance in our lives? How can you do that? This is how Ralph and Mindy Lorenzen have to do that. How can you get a better balance? Are you all, everybody's staring?